I try to make this quick. Try not to get too rambly, but whatnot. I got a DM sometime while I was asleep about the head I posted yesterday for sale, and it kind of made me think that maybe maybe that the way he's seeing this is kind of similar to the way other people are seeing this, right? And I think there's a lot more into it than that, right? So I think at the end of the day, at the end of his question, he's like, or is it just? He's like, is it just a cleaned up head? I'm like, just a cleaned up head. Okay, so here's the thing, right? I've taken apart a lot of heads in the last couple of years. Originally, I was just doing short blocks and never focused on the head. Even in my own personal builds, I got a head. I never did anything to it. I would just eyeball it and then slap it on the fucking car. Now, the years that I did that, I got lucky. I never had a problem. Never had an issue. But eventually I got to the point where I was just like, okay, now I'm just gonna put the straight edge on it, and if it's not warped, then I'm gonna send it, right? We got past that. Started taking apart heads. When I started taking apart heads, I started finding a lot of fuckery in it, right? So there's a lot of times where I found cracked retainers, a lot of cracked retainers. Even more so than that, a lot of bent valves, a lot of bent valves. So many bent valves that it convinced me at that point. I'm like, I will never ever just buy a head and send it again. And here's now a chance for me to expand my engine building market a little bit and start building cylinder heads, right? So, and then I started doing that, right? Now you guys know that I clean up my own blocks. Like I'm only just now getting to the point where I'm starting to like trying to push everybody to do machine work. And that machine work, the cleaning is covered. And of course, the cleaning from the machine shop from the jet washer, hot tank is always going to be better than what I can do with a pressure washer and some cleaning material and scrubbing. It's also a lot faster for me too, because a lot of my work in engine building goes into preparation, getting a block ready, right? So I did the same treatment that I do for the blocks for the heads, but the heads got a lot more tight spots and pockets in it, so it's impossible for me to get it anywhere near as good as I get the blocks, and the blocks still aren't even really perfect. So what happened was earlier this year, I had did a built GSR head, or I believe it was a GSR head, or it built B series vtec head, and it was all these brand new fucking valves, valve train in there, all super tech across the board. It's a very expensive head, over $1,000, but it looked dingy and grimy as fuck. Now it wasn't unhealthy, of course, it was fine, but dingy and grimy as fuck. So I'm like, well, I can't. There's just nothing I can do to clean this head properly, to make it look good, to match what you're getting, what the payment price is. So I'm just gonna have them all machined from now on. So machine shop cleaned. That's $100. It's $100 for them to clean the fucking head, and then after they clean it, it's still not 100% ready to go. I have to take it to another wash tank and rinse it and dry it again, because when they clean it, they glass bead, and they don't fucking rinse it after they do the glass beading, and there's still shit all up in there. So I have to clean it out after it's cleaned. All right. So we're talking about $100 labor charge plus my actual labor time that I'm spending on it. So when you're talking about just a cleaned up head, it's not just a cleaned up head. Not only that, but you're getting everything was stripped down. The head's been inspected. You're making, like the valves are used, but you're making sure they're not fucking bent all to hell. You're getting new valve seals, which also cost money and will give you back to 0 miles on your seals for your head. And in this case, the head I just posted yesterday, it's also got an S2000 valve train, which is similar, I believe the same part number as the K series. So if you know anything about the S2000, they rev to 85 and 9,000 RPMs. The valve trains I just put on that, I inspected, make sure everything's good. There's no cracking or anything anywhere, but that was going to 9,000 RPM. All right. Now I can rebuild a base model head and still market it as a VTEC killer head and have with the stock valve springs on there. And I think the red line for a base K is like 7,200. Now, am I scared about taking the 8,000? No. But if you're going to be dealing with a lot higher lift cams on those valve trains, not only are you adding higher lift, but you're adding a higher RPM range, so it's going to be under stress even longer. So doing the upgrade to those higher springs that are meant for high revving RPMs or whatnot, that's a big deal. That's a big mod. Right, so if you want a higher revving VTEC killer head, but you don't want to spend, the several $100s on buying the actual springs, which I think $350 for buying the springs or whatnot, you can get these. Now, mind you, on these heads, that I don't have a fuck ton of these springs. I have a finite amount. I have another F20C head in my shed that I'm going to strip down and use those valves for parts, and I have an RBB that's also stashed then I'm going to use those valves to upgrade, because all those other heads that I have would be upgraded to the several $100 component costing valve train, right? Those heads are worth doing that upgrade to. Now, I'm not saying you can't get a benefit out of upgrading the vtec head, but the whole point is to keep it as a budget performance part. So if you're trying to take the cheapest head possible but make it as strong as you can, also on a budget, this is the way to go. Now, let me break down the cost to you guys a little bit. Now, the head as is, no rocker assembly, right? Is it still worth the money? Yeah, it's still worth the money. I'm charging you $100 for the core of the head, which I believe is cheaper than what the junkyard would charge you, right? So the core, 100. Shipping is about 100. The cleaning is 100. And then the valve train. If you go and you look online on eBay or these secondhand markets or whatnot, it's hard to find them. They're not always there because they're not like a hot selling thing, right? So when you do find them, they're generally speaking $100. So that's about $400 right there. And then I still got to get paid something for the fucking labor. So $500. $500 for the head, $100 for the labor, $100 for the core, $100 for cleaning, $100 for the valve train upgrade, and $100 for labor, if I didn't already say that. So is it worth buying the base model head that I have for sale? Yeah, it is. I don't know where you live or whatnot, but generally speaking, like the real VTEC heads, they sell for about $500 in similar condition, right? But then when you get that fucking head, it may need to be resurfaced. It may have some damage in it. You don't know. You don't know these things, generally speaking, until you take them apart or until you can get them in front of you at home and start really going over them. All right. So while you potentially could get a better VTEC head than what I'm offering, you're not going to get that better VTEC head that's cleaned up and ready to go. If the last like K20Z head I bought, I think I bought it for like $450, and I didn't really make that much money off of it because I built it, right? I had it cleaned. I needed to resurface it. The resurfacing costs $100 too, or is it $80? Maybe 80. But it's next to $100. So cleaning and resurface, $200, right? The valve train, I think I spent another $300 and some on that. Valve seals, labor time. By the time all is said and done, there's almost $1,000 investment in this head. I sold the head for like $1,100, right? So if you're looking at my base model VTEC heads and you're thinking, well, fuck, for that same price, I could get, an actual VTEC head. Yeah, you could. But if you want to get it to the level of preparedness that mine is, you're still going to spend several $100s more to get it ready to go. Unless you're doing your own work. Now, again, you don't have to buy my vtec head. You can always make your own. But if you don't have a K-Series engine at all, like you have zero K-Series engine, but you're wanting to get into one, right? Getting this head at this price will get you a clean, somewhat built head that can take some handling, some beating, and get you into it without spending a fucking fortune. If you go to a 4-piston or if you go to most shops and you're looking to buy a VTEC head, you're not going to find a real VTEC head for $500. You're only finding that if you're looking on the like the local marketplace and if you're in a haunted town. And honestly, I haven't seen one listed in a while, so I wouldn't be surprised the next one that pops up for sale is around $600. All right. So again, bargain. And then to wrap this video up here, again, I've talked about my recent recession not really making any sales or whatnot. I'm okay with that. I was saying to myself earlier in the year that when it comes time to build the S2000, I'm probably just going to take a break, not really build anything for anybody, and just focus on my project. Well, you guys didn't leave me a choice with that. I don't have no choice but to focus on mine, really, because nobody's buying anything. So there's that. I think that I feel extremely confident that when I start making the power I'm going to be making on these with using these fucking heads, I think that market's going to turn around. Just like when I started selling the rocker arms on eBay and people started stealing the fucking idea and inflating the price, I think is what's going to happen with the base model heads as well. People are going to see the power I make on them boosted. People are going to see the power I make on them NA, and then they're just going to start stealing my label. After my time invested in it, and people are going to start selling slightly modified base model heads as VTEC heads and making a killing off of it. So after the S2000 is done, I'm going to be building a K-Series for me. It's either going to be a budget NA build or it's going to be full-on turbo. I'll see what it gets to when I get to that point. Maybe NA. I might. What I'm gonna do is when I get a shell for the car, I might just put the NA swap in there, make my little power, and then yank it out and go with the turbo version of it. But as far as boost comes in the base model head, like boost really just comes to how much you're willing to turn up the boost pressure, right? As long as your block can handle it and you're not revving the piss out of it, there's no reason why you can't make 500-600 horsepower on this fucking with that head. And same thing with the NA. We're seeing stock block vtec killers crack the 200 horsepower range. So I think if we bump up compression to like 12, 12.5, 13 to 1, and then as long as we have the valve train to match the rev limits to make advantage of that compression, then we're gonna see some big power vtec killers. I believe that 225 isn't something that's not doable with that high ass compression on pump gas, and so I'm expecting mid 200s easily if you use if you're using E85. So I think that once people see how consistent the power can be for these heads, that they're gonna sell like crazy. So, and here's the other thing too. Right now, I'm not buying engines anymore. I'm not buying stockpiling engines, mainly because I don't have a truck and I have two expensive cars that I'm not gonna put dirty ass engines in the trunk. I didn't mind ruining the trunk of the SI. That's whatever. I'm not ruining the trunk of my Type R. I'm not gonna ruin my fucking wife's Cadillac's trunk, and it's not very big anyway. So right now, the only thing I have to transport is the S2000, which is currently down. And that trunk of that is not very big. For me to put the long block of the F20 in the trunk, we had to zip tie the fucking the trunk down. I mean, it worked, but it's not something that's ideal, right? So until I can get something to transport engines, I'm not buying them anymore. And because I can talk to my supplier and just ask him, now I'm paying a little bit more for the core, but I'm not dealing with the hassle of going and negotiating with people, driving long distances and all that shit. I'm just, hey, I need this engine, and it gets shipped to me, right? I'm fine with that. So with that being said, that means that the K series base model head supply that I have eventually will run out. I think I maybe have like half a dozen, maybe only 4, and right now only 1 is ready to go, and I'm not even looking at doing any putting any more together unless this one sells, because then once I take it off the fucking block that it's on, or once I take it out of the stash that it's on and I clean it up, at that point I'm dedicated to a corner space somewhere in my house because I need to keep it clean after spending the money into it to clean it up. So yeah, that's it. I guess I kind of did ramble a little bit. This video is going on a little longer than I wanted. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments below. If you got business talk that you want, then you can hit me up in the DMs. If you're just asking me regular car questions or shit that I've already talked about on the channel and in my DMs, I'm not going to acknowledge you. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching, and peace.